The Spook Secret by Joseph Delaney, read by Thomas Judd. The highest point in the county is marked by mystery. It is said that a man died there in a great storm while binding an evil that threatened the whole world. Then the ice came again, and when it retreated, even the shapes of the hills and the names of the towns in the valleys changed. Now, at that highest point on the fells, no trace remains of what was done so long ago, but its name has endured. They call it the Wardstone. Chapter 1. An Unexpected Visitor. It was a cold, dark November night, and Alice and I were sitting by the kitchen fire with my master, the Spook. The weather had been getting steadily colder, and I knew that any day now the Spook would decide it was time to set off for his winter house on the bleak moor of Anglezark. I was in no rush to go. I'd only been the Spook's apprentice since the spring, and had never seen the Anglezark house. But my curiosity certainly wasn't getting the better of me. I was warm and comfortable here in Chippenden, and that's where I'd rather have spent the winter. I glanced up from the book of Latin verbs I was trying to learn, and Alice caught my eye. She was sitting on a low stool close to the hearth, her face bathed in the warm glow of the fire. She smiled, and I smiled back. Alice was the other reason I didn't want to leave Chippenden. She was the closest I'd ever had to a friend, and she'd saved my life on a number of occasions over the last few months. I'd really enjoyed having her live here with us. She made the loneliness of a Spook's life more bearable. But my master had told me in confidence that she would be leaving us soon. He'd never really trusted her because she came from a family of witches. He also thought she would start to distract me from her lessons, so when the Spook and I went to Anglezark, she wouldn't be coming with us. Poor Alice didn't know this, and I hadn't the heart to tell her, so for now I was just enjoying another of our last precious evenings together in Chippenden. But as it turned out, that was to be our last one of the year. As Alice and I sat reading by the glow of the fire, and the Spook nodded off in his chair, the tolling of the summoning bell shattered our peace. At that unwelcome sound, my heart sank right down into my boots. It meant only one thing: Spook's business. You see, nobody ever came up to the Spook's house. For one thing, they'd have been ripped to pieces by the pet boggart that guarded the perimeter of the gardens. So, despite the failing light and the cold wind, it was my job to go down to the bell in the circle of willow trees to see who needed help. I was feeling warm and comfortable after my early supper, and the Spook must have sensed my reluctance to leave. He shook his head as if disappointed in me, his green eyes glittering fiercely. "Get yourself down there, lad," he growled. "It's a bad night, and whoever it is won't want to be kept waiting." As I stood up and reached for my cloak, Alice gave me a small, sympathetic smile. She felt sorry for me, but I could also see that she was happy to sit there warming her hands while I had to go out into the bitter wind. I closed the back door firmly behind me, and carrying a lantern in my left hand, strode through the western garden and down the hill, the wind trying its very best to tear the cloak from my back. At last, I came to the withy trees, where two lanes crossed. It was dark, and my lantern cast disturbing shadows, the trunks and branches twisting into limbs, claws, and goblin faces. Above my head, the bare branches were dancing and shaking, the wind whining and wailing like a banshee, a female spirit that warned of a death to come. But these things didn't worry me much. I'd been to this spot before in the dark, and on my travels with the Spook I'd faced such things that would make your hair stand on end, so I wasn't going to be bothered by a few shadows. I expected to be met by someone far more nervous than I was. Probably some farmer's lad sent by his ghost-plagued dad and desperate for help. A lad who'd be scared just to come within half a mile of the Spook's house. But it wasn't a lad waiting in the withy trees, and I halted in amazement. There, beneath the bell rope, stood a tall figure dressed in a dark cloak and hood, a staff in his left hand. It was another Spook. The man didn't move, so I walked towards him, halting just a couple of paces away. He was broad-shouldered and slightly taller than my master, but of his face I could see little, as the hood kept his features in shadow. He spoke before I could introduce myself.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?